It's that time of the week again. So how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of Cynic's Log. I'm AnxiousCynic, and today got a couple things to talk about. One, you may notice, new webcam. We got it in, got it set up. I've been using it lately for my Let's Play stuff, and first time I'm using it for one of these. So I hope it turns out. Hope it looks okay. So you may notice, hopefully, a little bit better quality, recording in 1080p now instead of 720p. I tried in 1080p with the other camera, and it didn't turn out too well. You can see a little bit of, like, some blemish stuff going on that I had going on the past few days, so that's great. Get a camera that shows better detail and then have, like, imperfections in your skin and have it, like, nice and pronounced. Alright, so that's about all the news there is for today for the channel. It's just the new webcam stuff. And, yeah. So that's basically it. So, moving on to the first segment of this week is Today I Learned. I have one today. You may have seen this article yourself. An 11-year-old boy graduated college this week. If you didn't feel bad enough about yourself and your accomplishments in your life, then read this article. It'll make you feel worse. Let's get into this article, shall we? So, he's 11 years old, and he's got kind of a weird name. That's the one I derived from this whole thing. He has a kind of a weird name. It's Technica Abraham, if I'm pronouncing that right. And, he graduated college, and let's see, like, here's the thing, the reason I want to go into this article is because he didn't just earn a degree. He earned 3. He got them in math, physical science, general science, and language studies. They asked him if he felt weird being around all these older kids and stuff, and he was like, whatever. He wasn't even bothered. He seemed to be a rather confident individual based on the quotes they have. They're just quotes, text, I didn't watch any video interviews or anything. So his mom's a veterinarian, and she actually was studying for her own PhD, but she put him on hold to teach him because he was homeschooled. Apparently he got bored with regular school, so they had to homeschool him, I guess, so that they could bump him up faster through the grades or something. So she put her stuff on hold, which she's obviously some kind of genius, and she was like, I'll put my genius on hold so that we can help yours to flourish. Also, his dad is a software engineer, graduated from Cornell University, and he earned a perfect SAT score in math. It's just a whole family of smart people. Do you feel bad about yourself yet? Because I certainly do, and I really did after I read this article. If you feel like you're an underachiever, if you feel like you're not accomplishing enough in your life, well, I'm right there with you. So this kid obviously loves fun. So they asked him, what are your plans for the summer? And you know what he said? He's gonna take an 8-week course in Calculus 2. And he might sprinkle in a little bit of a family vacation in there. Alright, so his long-term plans, right? He's toying with the ideas, okay? Like, this, whatever. I could do anything. So I'm toying with the idea of maybe becoming a doctor, maybe a medical researcher, or who knows? Maybe if I'm feeling ambitious one weekend, I'll become the president of the United States. So there it is. There is the Today I Learned. There's an 11-year-old who's smarter than I'll ever be. Alright, so I guess falling in line with the topics of this week, the webcam quality bump that's introducing all my flaws, an 11-year-old who's surpassed all of my life goals. Today, for Cynic's Inner Thoughts, we're going to talk about something a little bit touchy. We're going to talk about insecurities.
Cynic's Inner Thoughts.
Alright, so this is kind of a tough topic. I've been thinking about it for a little while and having trouble really figuring out how to go about it. Alright, so I got some notes, I got some bullet points, I even researched some articles. So let's just start off with this. So everybody's got some kind of insecurities. It's a pretty common thing, you know. Not everybody is completely confident, not completely happy with themselves and their abilities and their accomplishments, you know. When you read about this 11-year-old who's got 3 degrees and you didn't even go to college, or maybe didn't even graduate high school, you might feel a little insecure. So it's not that, you know, having a general insecurity isn't something worth talking about. Like, sometimes you need help working those things out so you can get past them. But what we're going to be mostly focused on is really severe insecurity issues. How they affect your life and, you know, your relationships a little bit. I'll go ahead and put some of mine out there. All right? I'm not a very tall person. I don't know how it looks in the videos. So I've always kind of been a little insecure about that, you know, like feeling like, you're kind of a short dude and stuff. Makes me uncomfortable to talk about it, I guess. I feel kind of uncomfortable right now. But I am part Japanese, alright? So I kind of blame it on that. I have an excuse. Japanese. Most of them are probably taller than me still. Anyway. And I've always been really self-conscious about my voice. Like, I always wanted one of them deep voices like Sean Connery or something. And I just, you know, I kind of have, like, in my opinion, and probably in everyone else's opinion that hears that, I kind of have, like, a little bit of a nasally voice. And it's a little bit of a higher tenor than, or whatever you want to call it, that I would like, higher pitch. So, you know, recording my voice, I've talked about this in previous videos, and I'll probably mention it in something a little more relevant in another video at some point. But, you know, I've always had like a thing about hearing my own voice and just feeling self-conscious about, you know, how it sounds and stuff like that. A lot of people have that issue, but, you know, it's irrelevant to me, so I'm throwing them out there. I can't really say I've had that much of an issue with my looks. Like, oh, I feel so hideous. Like, I've never really looked at myself as like, oh, it's a great looking guy or anything like that, but it's just never really been an issue. I've never really cared if you know, people thought I was ugly or anything. It just wasn't really in my realm of like caring about stuff area thing. I could have explained that in 10 million other ways. It would have been better the way I just did it. Anyway, so, but the reason I bring that up is because a lot of people do have a lot of insecurities about the way they look. That's one of the big things, and it spawns all sorts of other kinds of issues. Alright, so first of all, we're going to talk about how insecurities affect your life. Alright, your life and your relationships, if it's relationships or something other than your life. Anyway, what I've read about and what, you know, I think we could all probably testify to or attest to from anecdotal evidence or experiences in your life, insecurities make people behave in a way to make up for them, right? So if you got a guy who's insecure about his masculinity, then he may try to be extra masculine and act like an ass all the time, and he's just like, so you're like, that dude's an ass. And yeah, screw that guy, right? But maybe he's not just a mean person. Maybe he's insecure and he's overcompensating by trying to, you know, be the opposite. And the only way that you really know how to be opposite of, I guess, is to be a big jerk. In one of the articles that I looked up, they said that people who are insecure, like about their job and their ability to fulfill the expectations of their job and their position and everything, are more likely to shoot down other people's ideas. Like if someone else, you know, they're in their little meeting and they're like, hey, I have an idea, and it's a good idea, and they're like, we can't do that. You'll look better than me if we let that go through. So no. It's a horrible idea. You should feel ashamed of yourself. In fact, pack your things. You're fired. Or whatever, right? Like, they're gonna shoot down other people's ideas that might make them feel like they pale in comparison. That kind of brings up another aspect that maybe I'll try to go into a little bit later, is like there's a selfishness to it. Selfishness is kind of a byproduct, you might say, of insecurity, and that people who feel insecure kind of prioritize their feelings above others. And they'll actually put other people under them, or kind of disregard the effects they have on other people, because that's just the way the insecurity works. Like, not that they necessarily feel that they're more important than other people, but they just, you know, it's kind of like maybe a natural instinct, you know, like survival and protecting yourself and things like that. I don't know, but that's kind of, you know, another point to mention. is that there is some selfishness is bred out of insecurity, unfortunately. And one of the big ones, relationships. Insecurity in relationships. Oh, isn't that just a juicy topic? Insecurity in a relationship can be a pretty tough one to deal with. Now, first of all, you have like the person who's insecure, they may be insecure about their looks, they may be insecure about their life, like their contribution in life or to the relationship, whether it's, financial or whatever they're insecure about, just feeling like they're not contributing enough, things like that. And they are always worried that whatever the reason, whether it's because they're not attractive enough, whether they're not helping out enough, whatever the case, they're worried that whoever they're with, their significant other, their SO, their spouse, even in friendships. Now let me just digress here for a second. That's one that I have, a big one. I couldn't remember it earlier because I'm dumb, but feeling like people don't want me around, like that's a big one that I really struggled with for a while, is like being around other people, whether you have like a friend or family or whatever, believing that other people want you around, that they actually want you there. Like that's a big one. That could, that's kind of, I guess it's kind of relevant to the relationship thing, so maybe it's good that I'm bringing it up now. But to feel like you're in the company of people who actually want your company. Now that's one that I really had trouble with. And it kind of is, I think, a fundamental line of dealing with insecurities and other capacities is being able to trust that other people in your life want you there, and if they don't, dealing with that in a way that doesn't depreciate yourself. All right, so back on track. You have the insecure person, they're worried about those things, whatever it is, and they're worried that that person, the other person they're with, doesn't want them around. Like they feel like, oh, they could do so much better than me, or they're gonna do better than me, or like, well, why do they even tolerate me, or there's however it's going down. It's obviously a very negative thing. Then they start to kind of lash out as a result of that. It's just like about the man and the masculinity thing is like, instead of like, you would think, okay, insecurity, you think somebody, okay, they're insecure about something, they're going to be kind of like mouse-like. They're just going to, they're going to hide. They're not going to want to do anything to cross the other person to make them see them that way. That's what you would expect. But generally it seems the insecurity actually causes them to do the opposite. And that's what I would call, bring up my notes, what I call the insecure self-fulfilling prophecy. Something like that. I don't really have a visual name for it, but it's basically causing what you're insecure about to happen so that you don't have to worry about it anymore. There's this thing, like, to me, it's like a psychological, bring that back up. It's like a psychological phenomenon, if you will, that people don't seem to really address that much, in that there's an unknown. Like when you're worried about something, when you're scared about, like, take watching like a movie, for example. If you're watching a horror movie and the person's like walking down the creepy hallway and they're you're afraid something's going to jump out, and if it keeps drawing that tension, if it keeps going, if it keeps like winding up and winding up, you build so much tension that you almost wish it would just happen so that it would be over with. That can happen, things in your life, like if something's going wrong and it's just dragging out, you almost wish the worst would just happen so it would just be over with. And I kind of feel like that's what a lot of people do with insecurity, is that, like, if you have someone and they're insecure and they're afraid that you're going to run out on them, you're going to dump them, you're going to find someone else or whatever, that their insecurities kind of like make them push you away and like push you towards finding someone else, push you towards looking at them in a negative way, like they cause, like it causes problems or whatever, and it actually might cause you to do the thing that they're worried about. Obviously, it's not that they really want that to happen, but it's like they're so worried about it that, maybe it's not, I'm not saying it's a conscious thing, but it causes them to act in a way that might actually induce that. And then, of course, that's going to fuel their insecurity. They're going to be like, well, of course I was right. You got tired of me. You saw the worst in me. And it's like, from the other person's perspective, there was never a problem. Like, I didn't have a problem. You caused this. And if it wasn't for your insecurities, if you even recognize them as insecurities, like that's a whole nother thing, then I would never have had a problem with you, or whatever the case is, There was kind of that, and like the problem with that, of course, like I said, it ruins your relationships and whatever, your job or whatever it is in your life that you're insecure about. It'll ruin it, And then the way that things happen, either caused by the insecurity or as, related to it somehow, will make the insecure person blame themselves and blame their insecurity. Like, whatever it is they're insecure about, that's what they'll think caused it. Like, they'll relate it to that. They'll be like, well, obviously you fired me from my job because I wasn't doing good enough. When it was like maybe your insecurity was, first of all, holding you back because you're too afraid to try. A lot of times insecurity, is about trying something. You don't want to step outside of your comfort zone. You're basically defending. You're not trying to launch an offensive and progress forward and really push yourself. You're just defending other people from catching up to you, like the whole about shutting down the other people's ideas and things like that. See what I'm saying? So you get fired for like maybe your conduct of how you're treating your coworkers or something. But then that person, they're like, well, it's just, I do it. I'm never good enough. Can't hold a job. Blah, 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 blah. Right? So you have to be careful about that. You have to be mindful about that. If you're an insecure person or if you know someone's insecure, that is something that really needs to be brought to light, is that you're going to cause what you're afraid of because you're bringing it into existence, basically. You're bringing that fear into reality by allowing it to dictate how you act. Something like that. There's probably a lot of other things that I could talk about in regards to this, but I can't think of them, and this is kind of going long, so maybe we'll have to bring it up in another way at another time, another video. But I do want to touch on what to do if you are insecure, or what you can tell someone who's insecure, and like try to work with them, try to get through it and stuff. My advice, because I'm such an amazing person with great advice. Anyway, so if you're insecure, all right, this is one of the things that I dealt with. Like, for instance, say, like, I had the trouble with feeling like other people want me around, like, trusting that when people say, yeah, I want you to come over, or hey, why don't you come over, or hey, why don't we do this, or why don't we do that, and you're there and you're around them, and you feel like, God, I'm annoying, and they don't like me, like, why they don't even really want me here. Whatever. First of all, you have to learn to trust that if people tell you they want you around, they do. And if you're not sure, then you need to ask them. You say, hey, that's one of the things, being upfront about your insecurities. Like, say, hey, this is something that I'm bothered by. Like, it's something that I feel weird about, and it's gonna cause more problems if I don't go ahead and get it out. So I have a hard time trusting that you really want me around, that we're friends or in a relationship, whatever, family. Do you really like my company? Do I bring anything to the table? Is there anything that I'm doing that you wish that I wouldn't do, or not doing that you wish I would do? And you use that information to determine whether you need to find somebody else to hang out with, or if you need to just trust that they do like you and they do want you around, and that maybe your insecurities are causing you to behave in a way that maybe make them not want you around. Otherwise, they'd be fine with you, right? So you need to look at the flaws, like look at what you're insecure about and say, how can I be the person that I want to be? How can I be the person that I want to be perceived as? And that's not to say that you have to change yourself. There's also the aspect that you need to accept yourself for who you are. That doesn't mean you can't improve yourself. I'm not saying if you have flaws to just accept them and be like, they'll just have to get over it, or I'll have to get over it, because there is self-improvement. You can do that, but you have to accept yourself before you can improve yourself. You have to accept where you are, because if you accept where you are, it makes a lot easier for other people to accept where you are and who you are. So like once you accept yourself, once you present yourself as the person that you really are, then other people can accept it. And if they're true friends, if they're true family, if they really love you, if you're in a relationship, whatever, then they'll be there for you and help you through it. And they'll see the best in you and know that you're trying to work on improving yourself, improving your insecurities, whatever. All right? And if you're afraid, like say your insecurity comes from being afraid of being perceived a certain way. Like say, like, for instance, the guy who's insecure about his masculinity, so he behaves like a jerk. He's afraid of being perceived as a feminine dude, or whatever the case may be. He doesn't want to be seen as a wimp. You can't let your insecurities dictate how you act to show others that you're not that. Right? Like, there's a difference in showing others that you're not what you're afraid of being perceived as, versus behaving in a very exaggerated manner in order to show them that you're not a wimp, right? Like, it's kind of difficult to explain, but there's a difference in saying, hey, I'm not a wimp, and I'm going to show you by beating your face into the ground, rather than saying, I accept myself for who I am, I'm a man, and I'm going to do what I do, and be a man about it, right? Like you can do it in like a healthy way and show people through your actions that don't have to affect others. You know, if you really feel like you're not an effeminate man or a wimp or whatever, then just don't act like one. Be yourself. And if you're not, then you're not gonna be. If you have to work that hard to prove it, then maybe there's something you're trying to cover up and there's something else that needs to be worked on. You can't just buy into the idea that you're insecure about something and it's completely false and I gotta be a jerk to show people otherwise. And it's just like if you're in a relationship, if you feel like you're not attractive, you feel like you're not contributing, do the things that you feel like you need to do. Like be the person that you want to be perceived as. Right? Like you don't have to be worried about it all the time. You don't have to like try, like for say a woman like packs on the makeup or something to try to make herself look better or whatever and feels like that's the only way she can be. Like if you want to counteract those insecurities, like the things that you think are wrong with you, it shouldn't be about covering it up. It shouldn't be about acting it out and like getting jealous all the time or feeling like the worst is going to happen all the time. It's like if you want to change it, then you have to be that change, basically. You have to be the change. You have to be accepting of yourself, build up your own confidence, because then you become that idea that you feel like you're not matching up to. Even if it's not that the picture in the magazine or whatever it is that you feel like you're holding yourself up to, is like whatever created that picture, whatever was behind it, the confidence, the self-assuredness, whatever that was behind that picture, that's what you become. And you can start seeing yourself in a much more positive light, and it'll help you to be perceived in the same positive light that you're creating for yourself. And that doesn't mean that everyone's going to accept it. If people in your life don't accept it, if they don't like you or whatever, if they don't like the positive change you're making for yourself, then that means maybe there's something wrong with them. You don't have to worry about what they're going to do because you're lesser. You have to work on yourself. You have to accept yourself and like build yourself up. And maybe that means you have to change some of the people that are in your life. All right? This is a much deeper topic that I can delve into right now, which is we're going way too long and I have to stop. So I'm going to end it with a quote I read on Twitter. I'm a follower of Will Sasso. If you know him, he's from Mad TV, and I think he's been in movies and stuff. And he retweeted or favorited somebody. No, he retweeted him. This guy's name is like Bruce Michalak, something like that. And I just want to share because I thought it was a very well-timed tweet. He said, he woke up thinking, I guess. I don't know if this is a joke or not, but I think there's truth in it, so I'm just going to put it out there. The love you are given will flow right through you if you don't know who you are. That's what he said. I'm not saying this is a huge, profound thing, but I think there's truth to it. If you don't know who you are, if you don't accept yourself, then if you're insecure, right, then all the help, all the love that people give you, all the things, like when the friends invite you over and you feel like that you don't belong there, you feel like they don't really want you there and stuff, all that they're giving you just goes right through you. It just goes down the drain and you don't absorb or accept any of it. And you reinforce those insecurities and those negative thoughts by not accepting those things, by not absorbing the love that's around you, and you just let it all flow right through you and flow away and you stay empty. All right? So that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Sorry it was kind of messy, but I hope it inspires some thought. Hope the webcam worked out and everything. Thanks for joining me, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed what we talked about. I'm done. I gotta go. I'll see you next week. Bye.